Hello guys, and welcome back to another episode of Main Assembly. As many of you know, yesterday the 1.0 update was finally released, and with it came a ton of new things, such as maps, there's new challenge levels, there's a ton of new parts, and of course, as you'd probably expect, bug fixes. So before we get started on this video, I just want to hit a few things. So first of all, if you've been watching this video for all of about 2 seconds, you would have probably noticed that there's a whole new chunk of stuff on the bottom of the screen here. And this is basically a server menu, so what it allows you to do is create a online lobby, whether that's private or public. That's really up to you, but basically it lets you set up different online matches that people can easily join from pretty much anywhere. It's pretty cool. So next up we have the topic of maps. Obviously, the main attraction of this update has to be the absolutely humongous space sandbox map, in addition to the 4 other challenge levels that were also introduced. But in it, you can basically find quite a few satellites and asteroids sort of hanging around there, just floating and stuff. And then there's also this very ridiculously sized space station that's also floating there. It's like right off Rings of Saturn, basically. It's really cool. And honestly, in the video, it kind of doesn't do it justice to how big these things really truly are. I mean, like, just crossing the map, even at pretty high speeds using rockets and RCS thrusters and such, it really just feels like it takes an eternity just because everything is so huge. It's really insane. I don't know how big the map itself is. I'm guessing it's probably about as big as the sandbox map. But yeah, it's pretty insanely sized. Honestly, all that stuff being that big makes you feel super small, and it's honestly pretty insane. And as big as everything is, don't think that those asteroids and satellites floating around are small either. I mean, those things are huge. I mean, the asteroids, you could basically fly through them with probably the biggest thing you've ever made, and you'd still probably have plenty of room to wiggle around and move around and stuff. It's pretty crazy. And the satellites, they're just they're also pretty big, although I don't think they're anywhere near as big as the space station. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. So guys, for this next one, I'm actually here in the ridiculously sized space station in the Final Frontier map, which is the name of this new map. And as you can see, it's pretty huge. There's good old Saturn, and then there's a humongous station kind of hanging around here, quite literally floating, with the few meteors that I was talking about before, and asteroids and the sun, I guess. But anyway, what I'm actually here to show you guys is also the addition of weapons, ranged weapons that is. They're pretty awesome. They're basically straight shooting weapons. I don't really know what else to call them. Weapons that just shoot and destroy stuff. Pretty fun. So to show you guys this, I have made this little turret here. It's actually player controlled, so wherever your camera looks basically is where the turret points. And on top here you can see that we have the plasma gun, and on the bottom we have the laser. So it's pretty simple. I just have this as a left click, right click setup. As you can see, it kind of follows the camera up, down, left, right. Pretty sweet. But basically, this is going to be the plasma launcher right here. As you can see, it shoots sort of a ball of plasma. And that basically just acts as sort of a small explosion, really. And then this next one, on my right click, is going to be a laser. Might be a little hard to see, but this laser actually can only go for so long. It has a slight recharge that it has to go through, and then it beeps once it's fully recharged, like it did just now. So if I hold it down, you can see I'm still holding the right click button down, but until now it's actually stopped. And now it actually refilled itself. So if I hold it down, you might be able to hear it. There's a little beep, and laser. And while we're on the topic of weapons, I also want to cover a different kind of weapon, and those are these explosives here. So as you can see on my bot, I have basically 1 or 2 of each kind. So there's spherical ones, there's kind of tube explosives, and there's also flat ones. And basically these kind of do exactly what you'd expect them to do. They can basically explode after they get an input to do that. And actually have all these bombs on their own detachment points, so if I click a button like this, it'll detach from the bot, and after 5 seconds it should explode, so that'd be about now. Yep. And then I have that done for basically each of these, so I can just attach them, and I might want to get away from that. And as you can see, these things have quite the explosive radius actually, so if I get kind of close, you'll see that I get really blown out of the way. Almost stuck in the wall too. These things are pretty powerful, I would say, but actually, surprisingly, they will not damage you if they're your own explosive, so to say. So if I were to actually kind of get next to this thing while it explodes, you'll see that it doesn't actually damage me or my bot. And that's because I guess it's my own, but if it was launched from, let's say, another bot, then it would actually damage you. So if I were to, oh wait, I gotta respawn this, and then I'm gonna spawn another one. So if I spawn this guy right here, and then I drop a bomb, and then quickly get into this one here, we'll see that we're actually gonna get pretty much destroyed. Yeah, okay, I said destroyed. This thing basically got vaporized, and it seems like it blew up the other bombs on the other bot, which destroyed the first one. So that's basically that. Next. So next up we have a new way of decorating our bots, and those are decals. So if you go to your tab menu here in the catalog, you'll see that there's actually a new tab called decals. And in there, there's basically just a bunch of stuff that lets you kind of decorate your bot, which is pretty sweet. So you can put these down, you can basically rotate them, you can even select what size they are, I'm pretty sure. So if I were to, I have no idea what this is. Oh, this is vertical? Why would you want to vertically size this thing? I have no clue. But anyway, it seems like you can kind of stretch. Oh, jeez, that looks really... Oh. Ew. Okay, that does not look good at all. But basically these decals kind of let you paint on your robot a little bit. And I'm pretty sure you can actually paint these. Not what I wanted to do. Pretty sure you can paint these. Yes, you can. And it seems like the only way to grab these and move these around is by selecting this little nub here. And that also lets you switch their size and everything. Now, okay, there's this, but what is this? Oh, is this their... What? Oh, wait a minute. Hold on, let me make that small. Oh, it seems like these things actually have quite a few settings that you can sort of fool around with on them. So, of course, you can size these sideways too, and that looks absolutely horrible. So let's just leave it at 10. So if I hit T, image, okay. Oh, it actually lets you switch images right on the spot. Oh, that's pretty cool. So if I were to keep switching, that is very cool. So then you have that whole menu, basically you have the whole tab menu where everything is right here. So I'll leave it on the flames right now. And then next one, priority. I'm guessing this lets you stack them on top of each other so you can sort of do some fancy art with these. And if I keep going, seems like shine. We have shine. I guess that's supposed to be how shiny these are. Not sure how that gets affected, but I guess let's just leave it at stock 50. Next thing, oh, if it glows. And yes, it does glow. So that's pretty cool. Didn't realize they could do that. Huh. Then we can adjust the glowiness to them. I'll just leave it at 0. And then metallic. Wow, I had some weird frame drops there when I brought it to metallic, and I guess that all that does is just applies sort of metallic texture to them. Seems like it, oh, I see, so it gives them a sort of reaction with the light, so to speak, where one side becomes darker than the other. That's pretty cool. So now, let's see, what else do we need? We have glow, we have metallic, and that's basically it. So, decals. So for this next thing, this kind of requires me to be in a fairly open space, I would say. Because this thing lets you go fast, and what that is, as you can see on the front here, are rocket engines. So these things are basically just like the normal jet engines, but they work in space. Jet engines don't, for obvious reasons, because they need air, where space doesn't have air. So that's why you use rocket engines. Basically, these things let you go pretty fast. So if I were to actually let off the gas here and just let my RCS thrusters do the trick, you kind of do see that I do gain speed surprisingly, but not too much and not very quickly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the gas and go flying away. And here you can kind of see what I mean when I said that traveling through space feels like an eternity to go anywhere, because it's just super slow because the map is so huge. Honestly, I bet you could probably modify these engines in the files, in the game files, in order to make them at least a little bit faster, or have a little bit more power or something. Might be something interesting to look into. Maybe you can even give yourself like a little hyperdrive. That'd be kind of interesting. But yeah, that's basically all I have for rocket engines. So next. So this last thing that I'm going to cover today is actually the whole rework of the RCS thruster system. This is really handy because it basically allows you to not have to rack your brain and melt it while it's still in your head as much. Because, let me just show you. So suppose I wanted to build something like this, which actually, by the way, guys, this thing is the camera where I get all those really weird shots from. And basically this thing has about 8 RCS thrusters on there, and these 2 are mirrored. Same with the top, mirrored, not mirrored. So basically what would happen before, without this whole rework of the RCS system, is that you would have to figure out which way all of these thrusters are facing, and then in relation to the thruster, which way, whether that be up, down, left, right, or forward or backward, would actually give you the direction you want. And that was a real headache to figure out for every thruster, each and every one, because number one, there are simply so many, and number two, things don't always work the way you want them to in this game, and that's just part of the building process. But finally, if I hop into the programming here, you'll see that actually we have a whole new thing going on here. So if I open up one of these, you'll see that we not only have the basic forward, back, left, right, up, down, and basically everything else, we also have pitch, roll, and yaw. And then within each node of the RCS thrusters, we can actually make it so it goes by the bot's orientation and not the thruster's own orientation. So basically you can do a forward back node, and then you can have it go according to which way the bot is facing instead of itself. And what that means is basically if the thruster's version of forward was for some reason up, then that would be by the thruster's orientation, but if it was for the bot's orientation, that forward would be turned into this way, which is exactly what you want. And if you do that with all those, it basically just simplifies things so much that it makes programming these so much easier, which is really awesome. Second thing you'll notice that's new also is these pitch, roll, and yaw groups for the RCS thrusters. And basically what these are, these basically allow you to do exactly what it sounds like for each of the axes on the bot. So the yaw will basically, in relation to the bot, draw an axis from top to bottom, and then it'll turn either this way or that way. And the pitch, basically the same thing, except the axis will go this way, and it'll go up, down, or up. And then roll is basically the same thing, except it'll draw an axis front to back, and it'll, I mean, I can't really do that with my drone right now, but it'll basically lean side to side, which is pretty nice. So if I spawn this guy in, I can actually show you that really quick. So if I press J, I can do my forward, backward, and then my yaw, and then my roll, which is basically very weird when you look at it in the camera. And because this thing is a camera, what this allows me to do is some really trippy stuff. So if I enter it, and then I start the roll, now the world turns upside down, and it looks very weird. Hope I'm not giving you guys a headache, because while I'm not getting any real headache, this is just very weird. Now I'm technically going up and down This looks super weird. So if I go forward here, you can kind of see I can basically fly this thing upside down, and because we're in zero gravity, I don't need any thrust to compensate for gravity, so that means that it's basically one less thing that I have to do in the programming, which is pretty sweet. Of course, space is space, so I guess let's just leave it at that. But this is honestly super weird. And even weirder is what happens when you go back to the build mode. Then the camera just flips over really fast. So if you want to, look away, but if not, then that. It's pretty smooth, but it's still very, wow. But anyway, I think that's all I have for you guys today. So if you liked today's video, be sure to give it a like. And if you want to see more like this in the future, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Until next time, goodbye.